Hi, this is Ajit Navlaka and welcome to the Business of Coaching podcast. Today, my guest is Shanda Sumpter. Shanda is a friend and I met her a couple of years ago and was really impressed with what she was doing with her business. I was even more impressed when I met her recently again, where she was explaining how her business expanded in the past few years, and it was just mind-blowing what she's been able to create. And so I wanted to bring her on as one of my guests and really learn from her on how she's approaching business. So we are not only going to talk about the mindset and the different stages of business and how to think about different stages of business, but we're going to learn about her free event model, an event model that she created that has allowed her to have multiple seven-figure business in today's time. So I'm very excited to bring this conversation with Shanda to you, where we are going to explore everything from how you want to think about your business to how to grow your business, how to think about different stages of your business, how to deal with fear, how to deal with Instagram. We talk about everything. Here's what I want you to do. Either you're listening to this conversation or you're watching this conversation, irrespective. Make sure you have some note-taking device with you. The reason why I ask for that is because we will go over so much amazing stuff that you would want to capture what we are talking about. You can listen to this while you're going for a walk or driving or so forth, but it'll be great to revisit this conversation because there will be a lot of nuggets and a lot of gems that you're going to end up hearing. And I would love for you to capture those moments because they will help you move your business further, move your career further. Every single time you have a breakthrough or a mind-blowing moment, I want you to the comment section and write boom. The reason I want you to do that is because it tells us that you had that breakthrough. It tells us and the community around that you have had that breakthrough and that insight from this interview and gives us the motivation to continue these types of conversations. I'll be looking forward to your comments and your likes and your shares. Let's get into the conversation. First of all, welcome Shanda.
I'm excited to be here.
So good to have you here. So good to have you here. And I am very curious to have our conversation today because I remember a few weeks ago, I was down to do Alison Maslan's podcast and we happened to be talking just a few weeks before that. And we were like, hey, let's hang out. And I was just so amazed because I have had a conversation with you a few years ago.
Yeah.
When we were just starting our coach, we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation like literally in a nook, in a friend's office with probably like a ton of background sound. It was terrible. Yeah. But I was like, we gotta bring you back and really hear your story because it's so interesting what you're doing right now. It's so different than anybody else that I've heard about. And you just generally have a great story to share. So before we get into the real juice of things, why don't you tell a little bit about you, a little bit about how you got to what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I chased power. I chased power, thinking power would make me happy. Grew up in a household with a father that was an entrepreneur, and listening to my stepmom fight him all the time about not being home for dinner. But at the end of the day, like, even though he wasn't home for dinner, there were a lot of great moments. Like I remember the first time I was in a limousine and it was in Los Angeles. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. And I wanted to go to Disneyland. All the kids had been to Disneyland and I hadn't been to Disneyland. My dad said, I'll take you to Disneyland. And we were going to see a stage play while we're in town for Disneyland. And I was inside of the limousine and I looked out of the limousine and we weren't even in a nice area of Los Angeles. And I was like, the world looks so much better from the inside of a limousine. And what I didn't realize is I didn't have any context for making money. It wasn't about that. It was about how I felt in that moment. And I think that's the feeling that a lot of people chase. I mean, there's a serial entrepreneur that it's like about build, sell, build, sell. They really don't care what they build to sell, right? But then there's like a purpose-driven entrepreneur, which I think is what I am. And I didn't even know I was an entrepreneur. I just chased the power. I thought that the power gave you the freedom. And that's why I went into corporate America and I busted my butt to get to the top. And when I got to the top, I realized this is really unfulfilling. Like, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Yeah. Like, you can only buy a new car and like the new smell for so long before you realize that it's just a car. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I ended up having a spiritual experience. I don't know if I shared this piece with you, but I went to see a shaman. And And when I saw the shaman, after leaving Arizona, Sedona, Arizona, working with the shaman, I was driving back to Las Vegas, and that's where I lived at the time. So I went from Vancouver, went to school in Las Vegas. Now I'm in Las Vegas, chased power, got to the top, and realized it wasn't all that. And so I'm driving back to Las Vegas from the shaman, and I have this repeated conversation to go teach financial freedom. And it's like, back in the day when there was a record, and it's like a skipping.
It's just stuck.
There's like a line in the record, and it keeps skipping back to the same course. That's what was happening inside my head, to the point where I actually thought I might be going like clinically insane, that something clicked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I kind of freaked myself out. And I just argued with this voice, and I said, okay, fine. I will launch a product or a program, and I never want to hear from you again. Like, I'm gonna call my friend Robert, who was the only person I didn't know the coaching industry was even an industry. Like, I had no idea. I just knew
This is how long ago, by the way?
This was 9 years ago.
Okay.
Actually, 10 years ago, because I stayed in corporate for a year.
Okay.
Before I built out this company. Okay. And so I had hired this guy to do a course on changing my habits. And that's the only person I knew that was in this industry. And so I argued with this voice, and I said, okay, I will call Robert, and I will ask him if he will do a program or a product with me. And if he does, I'll do it. If not, I never want to hear from you again. And the voice stopped. I called Robert. He said, Shanda, I've always thought you should be in this industry. At that point, I still didn't even know what this industry was.
Yeah.
He gave me 24 hours to create a program. I created a program. He sent an email to his database, his email list. People showed up on a teleconference line, and we talked, and I made an offer, and I think like 6 or 8 people bought like a $3,000 program for me. And that's how it started.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. First of all, 9 years ago, you were doing a $3,000 program. Most people find it hard to do it today, where it's actually a very different playing field at this point. Like 3,000 is not really a big price point in context of the type of work that we do. But a lot of times we meet people who are like, oh, $3,000, I have to charge that much. Or like, yeah, it's kind of like not that much though.
You know what's a trip though, is that I have never gotten caught up in what the standard is. Like, I still have good friends of mine, that literally like will say to like my clients when they meet them, they'll say, oh, you can't sell like a nutritional product for like 12 or 1,500 a month. And my clients do it all day long. So I think one of my advantages and my superpowers is how naive I am. Like I'm so naive. Like if I would have thought that if I would have known all the work that it would take to grow, the company that I've grown today, I probably never would have started because I would have been intimidated. So I've just always thought along the way, it's just going to be easy. And when I look back, it actually is easy. I was hard. My mindset was hard. My insecurities and fear of being seen and speaking on stages and all the stuff that I had to go through to do what I do today. But those are like the pressure cooking moments. Like it's like in scripture, they say like the way that God works with you is in the fire. That's how you're moldable. It's like something devastating happens in your life and you lose everything. You drop to your knees and you pray. You're like, I surrender, right? It's like, I just take those moments and get molded, but I still don't know what's coming ahead.
Yeah. This is so fascinating because it reminds me of a story that happened in my life as well. And I want to touch on being naive because I think it's a thing people don't consider. And it is probably, and you just like kind of glazed over it. And I want to go a little bit deeper on that because that's one of the like superpowers you can have if you are naive. It's actually super helpful. Yeah. I want to tell a little story that happened in my life in the same context while I was so naive that I created something that was like absolutely insane for my life at the time. So this is when I just joined Mindvalley. Right. I was an intern. So I started as an intern in Mindvalley about a decade ago as well, 2008. It was January 2009 when this happened. So January 2009, I accidentally become business manager of a business because I started as an intern in the team. I was supposed to be the person helping out, doing stuff for the business manager. But the business manager did something extremely wrong later half of December, ended up getting fired, demoted actually. That was what it was. And I got promoted. Yeah. Really random. And Mindvalley was a 10-person company, so an intern could be whatever you wanted to be, right? So I kind of became the business manager, and the question that I was asked in literally my first business meeting with the founder, Vishen, was, So we are about 100,000 short on our goals for December 2008. Why? And I was like, I joined on 18th December 2008. I have no idea why. And everybody was on holiday when I joined because it's 18th December 2008. And I was like, I don't know why. I just joined. He was like, well, so you have to cover this up in the coming month. Right? Because you are the business manager, you must cover this up.
He's asked you to become resourceful.
Yeah, you become resourceful. It's like, it's $100,000 short. This is your goal. You got to make that and then add an additional 100,000 to cover for the month that you lost. Now I'm going in, okay, fine, that's great. If he's bringing that challenge to my attention, there must be a solution, right? So I'm asking around like a new kid, like I'm just like curious. I'm talking to everybody.
Who you're being in that moment is who people have to be. Like that's leadership.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, yeah, maybe it felt accidental, but it's like no. You got chosen out of all the rest of the people because you demonstrated something, and somebody saw something in you that you got to step into. And you got resourceful and you did it, but keep going.
Yeah. So what happens is I get curious. So thank you for that, first of all. I do agree with you that there is always something that, and all of us have that in some way or another. It just has to be discovered. And so I got resourceful, like you said. I started talking to people who were a few years extra in the company or people who studied a lot. This was the time when I was not so learning focused. I hated school, so I didn't want to go back to reading a book or doing a program. I was like, what the hell? Why should I listen to this guy? Right? So I was in that mode. So I go back in. There was one gentleman. His name is Juan Martitegui. He's a phenomenal entrepreneur, helped startups in the Spanish market now. Cool. At the time, he was in the company, and he gave me these few courses, and he said, hey, go study this, and you will find the idea that will help you. They're like, okay, fine. So I go in and I study for it was one of those things where you're watching something, you fall asleep and you don't remember when you fell asleep and you start again. It's literally like you're on the couch just doing that. I didn't even have a room at the time. I was literally living on a couch. And I study all this material, intern, So I'm studying all this material, an idea hits me. I say, all right, I'm going to run this one. What do you think about it? Take his feedback, implemented it, made $100,000. Now, here's the catch, and why I say being naive is interesting and very useful, is nobody in the history of the company at that time had done a campaign that made $100,000. So what Vision had presented to me was something where he was like, I don't know if the kid's going to do it. I'm just going to say and have a really high expectation of him and see what happens. And for me, because I didn't know you can't even do that or nobody has done that, I didn't have the context of saying,
that's right,
this cannot happen. Because
it's kind of the 4-minute mile, but in business.
In business. So I love that you mentioned that you were so naive at the time, and you still are probably.
I still am.
Yeah, it's like literally going into business saying, hey, I went in, I sold $3,000 packages for 8 people while on a teleseminar. Yeah. Because that's just what I felt was right. There was no benchmark that I was comparing to.
No benchmark, no anything. Nobody taught me how to do an offer. I just believed in what I was selling, and I still hadn't even created it yet. Yeah. I just trusted myself not trusted myself that I could do it, but I trusted myself that I'd be a good human being, that if I couldn't deliver, I'd give them back their money.
Yeah. Oh, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And I love that because of that also, I believe your business model today looks very different. I've not heard, at least I haven't heard of anybody else doing what you do. So we'll touch on that maybe in just a second. I would love for you to touch a little bit more on being naive, on how that helps, and not just in context of you. Of course, we understand that now, but how does it help? Because I know you practice that as well, and you teach that as well.
So, I can give you even where I'm going next, and I can tell you even I'm a business coach, so I coach people in business, but I also realized that as I was coaching people in business, a formula is not good enough. Your leadership has to level up. Your income, or your prosperity will never exceed your personal development. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times people focus on, the formulas. And the truth is, at this point in my business, I do events, I do webinars, I do email marketing. I just started cold traffic marketing 2 years ago, which definitely is a scaling advantage. But it's I don't do the millions of things that people I just stopped going to events. You know what I mean? Because what happened was my naivety, my is that even a word? I make up words all the time, by the way. But
it's a real word, naivety, of course.
My naive way of being is it's innocence. It's innocence, and I think that you can get rid of innocence if you allow too many people to advise you. So be careful. Like I always think, the most important thing in your and my life, yes, it's our children, it's our spouses, but it's actually our brain. That's the most lucrative asset. Take away our cars, our real estate, even our families, like how we would deal with a divorce or anything like that, or even letting new in.
Yeah.
Ajit, a new baby.
Yeah.
It's like you've got it's all happening up here. What we can get over determines on where we're going. And when we can't get over something because we feel like it's hard, or we feel like, my history dictates my future, you're screwed at that point. So it's like, I look at every aspect of my life. Who am I being as a wife? Who am I being as a mother? Who am I being as a business owner? And, I'll tell you, I hired somebody from Tony Robbins' operation, and this is somebody that was very significant in his company. And I gave him a target, just like you were given a target when you came in as an intern. I gave him a target to hit, and he didn't have to handle the marketing. I was going to handle all the marketing. And I said, the first target was a place that we could see. The second target in sales was a place that we couldn't see how to get there. And I had this realization that, yes, I've built on being naive, but I also have built a little safe. And I had to do that to build, because I didn't actually have self-confidence. Like anybody needs certainty or self-confidence, you're screwed in entrepreneurship. Forget about it, because the next jump, you don't have it. So you have to have courage before you ever get confidence, right? So it's like confidence comes when you're already good at it. So it's like when I look at this, this growth pattern, and I say, here's a target to somebody we brought onto our team, huge talent, super wise. And the guy looks at me and he goes, it takes him about 4 days to tell me this. I think I'm going to have to resign. I said, what? And he goes, I can't own that target. And I'm looking at him, let's call him Tom. I'm like, Tom, first of all, there is a supernatural growth that happens when you start working things. Innovation comes, right? But it's about commitment, not operating off of feelings of what you feel like you can hit. Or I go, you're so consumed right now about what you look like. He was consumed about what other people would say about him inside the company, his peers, if he owned a target he didn't hit. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you that this year I'm trying to fail 19 times. Because it's 2019. I want to fail 19 times. And the reason why is because I was putting these goals in front of me that I could see I could hit. They were stretchy. I knew I had to work, but all I had to do was muster up the willpower to work, and then I would hit it. But now I've started setting goals that I don't know if I can hit. And I'm committed to failing and going all in. And it's because I'm constantly looking at what's my next level of personal development to break myself through. So being naive is something that I've learned. It completely serves me. Like I have this weird thought we're going to build $1 billion company. I have no even understanding of what $1 billion is. That's how naive I am. I just have this calling to be able to have that level of influence to change the world. And that's what's motivating me.
That's beautiful and so interesting in so many ways. Because the challenge that you presented that, say, Tom had, which was, I don't think I can commit to a goal.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that on teams all the time. Right?
It's
it
crazy.
just happens all the time, where there's a team
That's
member
all
who
leadership.
says, which is where realistic or be realistic comes in from. And I'm an optimistic, but also realistic, pragmatic kind of person. But at the same point of time, I kind of understand what you're saying, because it happens on the team. And I've seen it happen on teams that we consult all the time, where people go, they would fight the goal until tooth and nail, because they'll be like,
so I go
this
after
can't
that
happen.
person in their leadership.
Yeah.
I go after that person in their leadership, because logic doesn't get you supernatural growth. You can work really hard to keep growing an empire, right? Or a business, or whatever motivates you. You can keep working really hard. But do you realize that in 2 months of setting this high target, right? In 2 months, the way showed up. Now, I'm not being esoteric here. That's not the game I'm playing. I'm not being esoteric. I'm saying that what happens when you commit to that, something much higher, what happens is if you start to work towards it, somebody's figured it out. I mean, so you got to put your focus on somebody's figured this out. Like that gap doesn't have to be as big. It's like, Jesse Itzler, do you know who he is, right?
The Navy SEAL, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Sarah Blakely from Spanx, her husband. Jesse Itzler tells a story from stage. I think he's one of the best speakers I've ever seen, right? And he's a friend of mine. And he tells this story from stage about when him and his friends decided to start Marquis Jets. Right? And they sold it to Warren Buffett. They didn't have airplanes. They were kids. They didn't know what they were going to do. They just had this crazy idea that they wanted to be on jets. And so they're playing. And so we're so freaking logical about growing companies now that I'm like, nobody's talking to each other anymore. Everybody's so buried in their phones, on their apps, as we were talking about, Instagram. And they're like, they're so busy trying to put together the next step of growth that they're not having fun anymore. And they take that home into their families, and then they don't want to, develop their families or spend time with them because it's like too much work. It's like all this pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Meanwhile, robots are coming in and taking us out anyway. So
like your kid just said, the robots are coming.
Yeah.
They're gonna come get us.
Yeah, it's just a different game when you play that way. They were able to go in and negotiate jets, and they got turned down, laughed at, and everything. And before you know it, they've got a fleet of jets, and they're selling high-end memberships, and then sold the company to Marquis Jets.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that business should be fun.
Yeah.
And once your survival is taken care of, you should have fun, and then play with it. Commit to fail. I mean, just commit to fail.
I so agree with you, and I feel like right now you're speaking to me as well a little bit, because we are at a stage of company where we know how to go, what is our next step. We kind of, we are very certain,
You
and
can see
we're
it.
growing. And we're growing pretty well. So theoretically, I should be very
Happy.
content with it, right? It's like, hey, I know where I'm going. Its growth is great. The percentage-wise is amazing. But at the same point of time, I'm going, what is it that I am doing for supernatural growth, like you mentioned it? Am I thinking that is so out of my reality that it'll force me to almost re-engineer everything that I may have thought about and bring more fun than or risk as well. I mean, risk is fun.
Well, because know you're going to hit, if you can see your goal is too small.
Yeah.
If you can see
That's
it,
true.
and you're only depending on yourself, so it's like, and the team, of course, but it's like still all about you.
Yeah.
And so when you can set something that's a supernatural goal, it's like, then you have to rely on a moment like you got for that campaign as an intern. You actually have to rely on a supernatural moment to come into play. And so you work it, and it just shows up. So it's like, this is how dangerous also supernatural growth though is. We're in supernatural growth right now. And I don't have to do my big 3-day event, the Zone event, which is coming up at the end of September, right? Like, I don't have to do that event. So I literally had a moment the other day where I was like, I woke up in the middle of the night, 1:30 a.m., and my husband goes, oh God, here we go. And he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I just don't feel like doing the Zone event this year. Like, we have all these 2-day events, we bring in, we're going to more than hit our number, right? So the number was that we would bring in an additional 1,000 PACE members this year, and 750 was totally doable, easy. Like, we knew we could do that. But the 1,000 was like, how would we actually do that? Sure, we can do online campaigns, but it's a $15,000 offer. Like, there were all these like, not a good strategy. So, I won't tell you how we got into the 2-day events, but we ended up stumbling onto them halfway through last year. So we were already doing them, but not really giving them the credit of what they could, like, what if we, instead of doing like 6 in a year, what if we did 3 or 4 in a month? What if we brought on another division and did 3 or 4 in that division with another influencer doing it? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, I didn't see any of that because my intention wasn't to grow another division. I was just busy working, which is the problem. But then I end up in a position where I'm like, I don't feel like doing the Zone event. So here's what I want to say. Every coach out there, you have a calling. And whether you are involved in a company that's coaching people or you are the coach, you have a calling to transform the world. There's a knowledge that you have to give forward. And it's not about you. Like, it's not. Your life experience has given you the ability to be able to go out there and help somebody's life get better. It's like, it's not about how you feel. And so I don't feel like doing the zone event. 2-day events hit my number easily. You know what I mean? Easily. And I'm home by 5, you know, like, and so I was like, I don't have to do it. I think I'm going to cancel it to my husband. And my husband goes, really? And I go, yeah. And then I play this little game in our company called Bring a Friend Contest, which is the one time a year that I can see all my clients. Everybody loves be the change you want to be in the world. But when it comes down to it, they don't want to stop being busy with whatever they're working on. And so they don't want to stop their campaigns to look up and help other people. And they bring friends to our zone event. And they win prizes and just all these things that help grow their company. And I actually, I created that campaign to get me off the road when I became a mom. Now that campaign served me in staying committed to doing a 2-day event or a 3-day event for the zone event because I don't want to take that away from my clients. They get the best coaching. They coach each other. They innovate things. They created teams last year. They brought 75 people in 2 weeks. Like one team brought 75 people in 2 weeks. They'll have 1,000 people at the event that's just from them, and they have ownership. And then I look culturally. My entire culture is a generous culture, not because we say that, but they will mail for you even if they're in the middle of a launch, and because their friendships are more important than the money. And then they grow quicker because they operate like they're real leaders.
They're collaborating.
They're
too.
Martin Luther King leaders. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's it's a different astronomical growth when you operate like that. So if I take BAF out,
what is BFL, by the way?
Bring a Friend Contest.
Okay.
Then they don't bring friends to the zone event. The culture gets rocked, right? The 2-day events, they're not coming in with that culture. They're coming in with cold marketing. You get what I'm saying? So now I'm taking the nucleus of what I believe the world should look like out. Anyway, my whole point is it's like serving me to stay back in the game. And it's like, and then I thought, I would never hire a coach that chose comfort over growth. So it's like the demise, the crumbling of an enterprise by making one decision to be comfortable.
True.
And so it's just, I know I just went on a whole rampage there, but it's
important. It's important.
It's just people have got to stop stopping at their walls. You got to scale your wall. And if you're setting goals that you can see, they're entirely too small. Because there's no innovation in that. There's just work.
That's true. That is very interesting. And I want to kind of lean in to the idea of dealing with what happens when you are going for that supernatural growth, right?
Yeah.
So like you mentioned, you come up with very creative ideas. You come up with very different ideas. But for somebody who's just starting out, and let's lean back into that person a little bit. Because again, we are at a stage where it's almost, I believe at least, with the place I'm coming from, is if it's not crazy, it's not exciting.
Yeah.
Right. We are at a place where we're not surviving.
And you start, I don't think that's the best strategy. I actually don't. Which is where I got myself caught in even though I was doubling the company every year, it still was it's sometimes more than doubling the company. Everybody would be like, you're doing so great. But the truth is I was still setting goals I could see. So when I started, the way I got caught in that rift is the way that you start, which is, you don't know if you can do it. And so the best deal that you could do for yourself is set a goal that feels a little stretchy, but you can see it. You can calculate on a calculator. This
is what I got to do.
If I sell 20 people or enroll 20 people in a program at $1,000 each, I know what I'm making. Yeah. So if my close ratio is 25%, I got to talk to X amount of people, and you can break down that formula and then just work.
Yeah.
Just work. You know what I mean? Just you focus on one place, just talking to as many people as you can to hit your close ratio, and you hit your numbers. Yeah. I think you need to do that a couple times. Yeah. And that's how I teach people how to grow. People like packaging and pricing as a coach. I'm like, okay, well, how much money do you want to make? I always start with the end. Yeah. I want to make, $10,000 a month. Okay, well then, if you want to make $10,000 a month, what is the highest price you can possibly charge that you feel like you could? It'd be maybe a little stretchy for you, but you feel like you could charge it. $700 a month. Okay, so I'm going to stretch you. I'm going to either say how much coaching you're going to give. Well, I'm going to coach them every week for an hour. Why don't you coach twice a week or twice a month? Two 1-hour segments for $700 a month. enroll like 3 or 5 people at that price, and then jump that 700 to like 1,000, and start tiering yourself up, because it's just a conversation until you get a yes. As soon as you get a yes, that becomes your new standard. And so it's like these small jumps to the top. But you'll feel the call, because the fire starts to burn. You're like, I'm going to really go for it. I'm going to make that investment and that mentor, and I'm going to, I'm going to stretch myself. I'm going to, like my first investment, I made $2,000 profit in a year. And my coach was like $1,200 or $1,500 a month for my first real coach. And I was like, but you start to feel that pull and you go. And that's when your confidence starts to kick in.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's so true about how you need to keep asking that question. So I have a rule. If I close anything more than 10% of my conversation, I need to jump my fee.
Great. That's great.
So if it's literally, and that's mostly because it's also one of those things where my main business is EverCoach and Global Grid Institute, which is the new company that we're building. But these are brands that I'm pretty much just the face of, and I have great teams that run the companies.
Yeah.
And then the consulting that I do, or the coaching that I do, mostly consulting at this point, is just something because I love challenges.
Yeah,
I love being like, tell somebody, push me a little bit and tell me something that I can't solve.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love being in that space. It's my creativity, my juice. And I love, because every single time somebody, like if it's an easy yes, I almost like, this was too easy. Let me jump my either revenue or the type of companies that I work with. Let's really keep pushing myself. So I totally love that. And it started at my first ever gig that I tried to sign was a client where I was going to speak with them every week for a whole year. And I wanted to charge them like $21,000. That was, it was pretty good. But at the time, it was, if you really think about it in the context, can't scale that. And honestly, I was really good even then. So in context, because I had a lot of experience already. I was already running a company like Mindvalley at the time. So
there's so you're bringing, so something that's coming up for me when you're talking is like, we sit here and we talk about loving that fire of that growth. You know what I mean? Or that challenge. But like when we really when you were an intern and I was like working in corporate America and starting this company, and I was working for like $50 an hour in the parking lot, talking to people before I went into my job. It's like, I don't know if we would have set it up that way where we thought like, I love the challenge. You know what I mean? Like, but here's what I got to tell every like entrepreneur out there, coach out there. It's like, you'll get there. Because if you have the courage to leave your job and start your coaching company, or you feel the call to help people, or you know that when you talk one-on-one with somebody, like you make a difference, then you can do that for like millions of people at some point, right? But it's like, it doesn't look like the way we're describing it right now when you first start, because it's not like you're like, give me a challenge. You're like, I want to make sure the lights stay on in my house. And that I'm not being crazy or stupid because I'm doing this. And do I have what it takes? It's like, you have what it takes, because I heard you talk about being on a couch at an intern. And, I lost 3 homes. I chose to take bad credit for 7 years. Now it sounds really bold to me to say, well, I got to live in my house for 10 months and have no overhead to build my company. But I went through months of feeling like a complete loser. And can I really do this? You get what I'm saying? Like, so it's like,
no, I hear you.
Definitely that conversation. So if someone's walking through that conversation, it's normal. You're getting taught resourcefulness right now. You and I have figured out resourcefulness. And that's why it's exciting, because we've got that in our tool belt now. It's like,
I actually feel I'm still figuring out resourcefulness.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I feel like but
you're comfortable with it in some level. Like, there's a way. You have a belief there's a way.
I don't totally like quit everything just because I had a hard day. It's more like, oh crap, I had a hard day. What can I do now? So I don't feel like I need to quit everything every single day. I'm not operating from that place. That's for sure. And I know when somebody's just starting out, that's literally every day they're going, I could just get a job and I'll be comfortable right now. I totally hear you there. But yeah, I totally understand, especially for newer people. It's probably better to kind of have a objective, if that's the right word here, to be and
work a plan.
Really make a plan.
Work a plan until you get into like really good survival, and survival's comfortable. And you got maybe a little bit more in survival. Like you can go out for a nice dinner, and if you can go out for a nice dinner, you're now ready to jump again. You know what I mean? And then get a little wild with it, and have some fun with it.
Yeah. One of the things that I talk about is when you are thinking about jumping even full time, is I say become comfortable while you're in the job.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
while you're doing your job, don't just jump the gun. Become comfortable, like build that residual on the weekends and the late nights or whatever that is.
I like that
At least
advice.
create some little base.
Well, you're
and
creating
then
grit
jump.
too. You're creating grit too, like mental and physical grit and endurance with that advice. Because if you can work your passion on the weekends or the evenings, then you're getting ahead of the game in grit. Because what I hear from a lot of entrepreneurs, and I coach a lot of coaches as well, it's like I hear like I'm working too much. I'm like, it's your vision.
Yeah.
Like you're working for you. You know what I mean? Like it's like.
So that's so interesting, and let's lean into that a little bit, because that's one of the things that sometimes I'm criticized about is you teach working to, like, don't work that hard. I actually teach that.
I teach that too.
Yeah. Okay. So
I take
great.
the last week of every month off. I take
Yeah.
weekends off. But I work harder than anybody works the 3 weeks of the month. Like, it's like I don't just put in the hours.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working a lever, the biggest lever that's going to move the company. And it's not a lever that feels comfortable. It's a lever that's stretching me, that is, you get what I'm saying? So
No,
there's a
absolutely,
lot
yeah.
of mental and emotional stuff that I'm dealing with. So when the last week of the month comes or the weekend comes, I'm like, whew.
Yeah. But that was so important to say, because people who talk about, oh, we don't work that hard, or comment on somebody else working hard. It's not that we are not working hard or we are just not working long, or we have structured our time in a way that it makes sense to make progress without killing ourselves.
We
on
have the
treadmill.
mental endurance.
Yeah.
And when you start, if you're still thinking about quitting, that's like being in a marriage saying, we just had a fight and I'm out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how do you ever expect that marriage to get strong? How do you ever expect that relationship to get strong? You're creating mistrust constantly between you and your business. And so don't do that. Like no great business. If you're still in that mindset, then you need grit. So like I throw people in like half marathons or marathons, and I'm like go work it out on the road, because if you can get mentally strong, then you can work these hours. Everybody wants these hours, but they don't want to be mentally strong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't get these hours unless you're mentally strong.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's very true. That's very true. Let's lean into a little bit different as a topic. So the curiosity
Instagram.
that I had, Instagram. We can go to Instagram. Let's start there. Maybe we start there. I hate Instagram.
Talk about pain with people.
I just hate that platform so
I
hard.
love it.
I just can't handle it, and I want to hear why you love it.
Well,
I just feel like it's like it's like a
context. Like
Yeah.
I came in and you said, like, we were talking about all the platforms and like how like everybody feel like Gary Vee's out there saying you're killing your business. And by the way, I think he's great, but you're killing your business if you're not on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. And I'm like, shit, like I grew a million, multiple million, 8 figures, not being on Snapchat, not being on Instagram, not being on YouTube, only being on Facebook. And all I did was build an email list. And so the truth is you don't have to be on all of them, and you're crazy if you're getting started or you don't have a team to own that target. You're crazy to try and be on all of them. Yeah. You know, that's first and foremost.
True.
Something I noticed you do that I do, we both do content days. So it's like content for YouTube, content for podcasting. We have it broken up. So it's like you're doing all of it in a day, and it builds out like the posts and all of that. But I'll tell you, well, why do you hate Instagram?
I just feel like, I mean, I don't hate it. Hate is a bad word,
Come
but
on.
it's just like, it's more like, I don't know why that platform is so, I feel like the platform is designed for addiction a lot. It fills the
for
gap
sure.
so I know Facebook is designed for that, but I feel like getting off Facebook is way easier than getting off Instagram because it's so visual. Maybe it's just my personality that I love visuals.
I'm sure there's there's probably statistics on that.
Yeah, there's probably some science to it, but I just feel, and I see so many of my friends and colleagues and everybody, so like it's almost like, you know, you have the phone, that's the app that they open the most. It's
Yeah, but
crazy
what
in
about
context
text
of business.
messaging?
No.
Really?
Nobody. I have not seen people text that much. No. For that matter, and I'm actually, I'm not going to say the name of the person, but there are people who say, "Oh, I don't check my text. Send me an Instagram message."
No, really?
That is true.
Oh,
that's
see, I
that's
haven't-
the
I
next
haven't.
generation, by the way. They do Facebook Messenger, Instagram messages way more and they have notifications on. So it's not like, oh, I do it because, that way I'm not reactive to your text. No, they don't know. Like, they don't do text. They want to do only
Okay, so I mean,
those
that's the
platforms.
wave that's coming. We can't stop that wave from coming. I'm not experiencing that with my friends yet, but I will tell you, like, when I'm at an event and people ask me how to get a hold of me, I'm like, Instagram me. And the reason why I say Instagram me is because I'm not giving my phone number out, and I actually don't answer email. Like, so at my emails where I go in and shop, I do email marketing. It's still my most profitable center. Like, when I look at like engagement, I know people are like, engagement is down on email, but like, I even take the last 90 days of who opened my email, and I upload those 90 days into Facebook, and I have the cheapest marketing ever.
Yeah.
So everything comes from that foundation for me everywhere. I don't know what people are talking about. Email's dead. I'm like,
yeah, it's not
but,
dead.
But I heard
Bad emails are dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Scam emails are
A
dead.
good subject line to the right person is open, right? Delete, delete, delete. Oh, open. Like, that's the truth. That's what people are doing. They're delete, delete, open. But I didn't like Instagram because I found it time consuming. But the truth is really what it was is I didn't know how to be me on Instagram. So I know I Facebook Live every morning at 7 a.m., Monday through Friday. I do a Coffee with Shanda show. I can Facebook Live into our Facebook groups and manage our client bases really well and really support and give. It's really easy. It's very convenient. Instagram, it was like, people are like, you have to do like 3 to 5 stories in a day. I'm like, I can't even think of 3 to 5 things to talk about in a day. So what I started to do was, instead of stopping at that wall, I started saying, well, how can I make this easier? So when I'm doing like a Coffee with Shanda, I just put my phone and put it on Instagram Live and just do the live. Like, if I was doing a podcast like this, I might just throw open Instagram and let them listen on a live on what we're doing. Little things like that. I just started incorporating little things like that. And then it just grows, right? It just starts to grow. But what's crazy is I'm not in my Facebook inboxes anymore. I go in there every now and then, but I'm really not in there. And so we have 2 admin team that manage them. We have a high volume. We have bots working. It's a funnel now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm on there live. When you watch me streaming, I answer the comments after my live, but then I'm gone, right? And I'm working. But Instagram, I'm still in there because I'm still growing the channel, and connection is currency. And so it's still a great place where it's an advantage for people. It's a great place to connect with me and still have that personal experience, because I'm still on there and I don't have like 400 people messaging me on Instagram. But it's starting to, it's
gonna go there.
It's gonna go there. Yeah. And when it goes there, I'll figure it out. But here's what I love. It's like when you start your coaching company and people can get you live on private coaching, charge as much as you can, because it's an advantage to them. Because at some point
you won't be there,
right? Or it's going
Not
to be
as much,
significantly higher in pricing because the demand. It's like I have like 3 to 4 VIP days a month, right? And it's like, it doesn't matter if I charge like $60,000-$80,000, they just come in the door. And although I love it, like you love coaching, it's like the average Joe Blow cannot, it doesn't even make sense for them to invest that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
And they shouldn't. Yeah.
It doesn't make
they'll
any.
not be able to use that
No,
information.
people say, I want to hire you for a VIP day. I'll take out a loan. I'll sell my car. I'm like, not a good time.
Yeah.
Like, go do
Build a
this
little
product
something,
for way cheaper and build that foundation and then come back and do that. So it's like, I love the risk on people, but be smart on your risk. But Instagram's actually fun, AJ.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, no, and I'm not discounting the power of Instagram, Facebook. I don't know what the power of Snapchat is. Never could figure that platform out.
Yeah, me neither.
But I'm sure there's power in that too. And I actually love social media generally for the purpose it is designed, or at least in my mind, how it's designed. It's designed for, in my mind, is to expand messages.
Yeah,
is to
totally
not hold information how TV held the information on newspapers before that, where it said no, you gotta be like this person,
it's like instant
or you need
reach.
to make this much money or spend this much money to get even a small little platform to be able to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas they have just said no, it's anybody. You are a channel if you want to be a channel. You are a platform and you are authority if you want to be an authority. You just got to do whatever the grind and have the ideas to do it. But everybody is a creative, which is amazing. So I love social media for that.
I'll give one piece on this. Instagram, again, I'm not an Instagram fanatic. I mean, I have a small channel, 25,000 people, right? Small channel. And, but we have about 2 to 3 people a day that actually directly message us and ask to hire us. And so, which is pretty high. Where on Facebook, we market them
To get to you.
to get to that spot. Where on Instagram, we don't. Instagram, they contact us directly. So I feel like it's like text messaging. It's so close. Where Facebook, even
It
on your
doesn't feel
phone,
like that,
doesn't
yeah.
feel like that. You know what I mean? It feels like
Yeah.
you're going into an inbox. Where Instagram, it feels like
It's a part of it, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so people feel closer to, and you can voice note on Instagram as well. So like my fingers are getting sore from texting, so I
Yeah.
just voice note,
Yeah.
and it just creates that instant. People are like, it's just very cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. And we get a lot of sales from Instagram. Again, it's just, I think it's just me.
got
It's
it.
just, I can't handle that.
It's just the
platform.
chase
Yeah, it's
versus
the chase, yeah.
versus the market.
Yeah, true.
So,
True
just
that.
a thought.
True that. Yeah. I'm also very less on social media. I respond to everything and I post and I do lives or whatever, but I'm not a very social media type of guy.
No, I get.
generally.
I'm not
Yeah,
either.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
don't even think I'm an
yeah.
internet marketer.
Yeah. Like we've gone into a tangent on Instagram at this point. So let's circle back. Let's circle back to one of the questions that I really wanted to ask you, because I think it will serve a lot of people, is just generally looking at, because your business model, like you mentioned, is very it's something that I haven't seen in a long time, or I think ever, because your model is
In
very
what
much
way?
based on local small events, from what I understood in our conversation. So tell me if I've got it wrong, then
Yeah,
I've got it
no,
wrong.
no,
But
so,
tell a little, expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah. So that is so everything in business is distribution, right? Like if you can reach more people in certain areas, you're going to grow, right? If you control the traffic. So I originally started by building my email list and doing, the good old fashioned telesummits, video summits, and we still do. We're about to do one in November. We're looking to have 100,000 plus opt-ins on that. But it's highly targeted. Like that is the highest converting.
And that's done through affiliates and so forth? Is that what it
It's
is?
done through speakers. It's done through
Okay.
speakers. It's done through ads. It's done through a lot of different things. So, but we, that is if anybody was to ask me what's the most profitable thing in your business, it's that. Because the amount of money it costs to do that and the return on investment is very high. Just because it's like they're in a full-blown nurture sequence the entire time. So that's what I did for a long time. And then I would just do phone sales off the back end of building the list that way. And then I moved into 3-day events. And I would do 3-day events like once a year that were a lot bigger, and we bring on larger amounts of people. And then I moved into doing 2-day events. And 2-day events, we completely fill through Facebook ads. You and I both agree that in America, we're in one of the hardest markets to market in.
Oh, yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
noisiest, it's the most costly.
100%.
But we fill the 2-day events, and then I actually deliver our information product. So the information product that we sell for $3,000, I give it completely for free.
Oh,
Like
okay.
in the 2-day event. I teach it, they get workbooks, they get everything. Like it's if anybody's thinking about doing something like that, when you give free tickets to an event, because it's free tickets, you have to have a call team, a confirmation team, and our conversation with our confirmation team is you need to know if somebody's constipated, like they have to really know them. And why they want to come, they need to feel vested. Like I want to hear if I pop into one of our call confirmation team calls, which they have every day, I want to hear them talk to each other about Sally and Tom and Trisha and how much they can't wait for them to be in the room because they're vested in these people. Like that's how deep the conversation goes. So we Facebook ad, they register to come to this free event. They call our call team, so it's inbound calls, and then our call team gets to know them and converts them in, like make sure that they're in. Still, regardless, if we have 700 people confirm they're coming, there'll be about 300 in the room.
Okay.
That's about how.
So it's a little under 50%.
Yeah, so that's about how it works out. But it's. I have clients doing this where they pay $5,000 or $10,000 to get people into a room to market Facebook. We spend about $40,000 and we return about $700,000.
So walk me through this a little bit. You said because I think these are a lot of numbers, and a lot of people listening right now will be like, hold the fuck on.
Yeah.
You're talking about a lot of numbers,
anything
right?
I can
Yeah,
help.
no, I mean, it's just general. So you said 40,000 and you put 700 people through those 40,000?
40,000 brings us $700,000 conversion.
Okay, yeah, so that's in the room though.
Yes.
But how many people are coming to the room?
So 300.
300, okay,
So
cool.
300.
But you're actually 700 free opt-ins, call.
Over 700 free opt, 700 confirmed.
Saying that yes, we will be there, but actually 300 actually show up.
That's right.
And out of that, of course, you generate $700,000.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. And what can I say? The best thing about that is I don't give an offer to the whole room.
Okay.
And so I feel
it's
like
free love. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't want to feel like a bait and switch. You know, I actually deliver real content. I teach them how to build their email list, and I teach them how to reach more people. We talk about pricing and packaging, and but most of it is reaching more people, right? But I hot seat them. I do business models and things like that, so people have ideas, but we don't have enough time to fit all that in. So I teach them how to fish. I teach them how to control their traffic, not paid traffic. I teach them how to do referral-based traffic, so it doesn't cost them a bunch of money to do. And in any industry that I've ever found, it works. And so they learn that. And then if people always on day one, we have a coach's corner. The coaches are coaching. My coaches are told specifically, you cannot make an offer. You cannot, your goal is to deliver on what we said we were going to do. They've got to get clear on their messaging. They got to get clear on their movement. They got to get clear on how they're building this out. Like they got to get clear on all that. So the coaches are there to truly help. Imagine that, right? And my concept on that is if we really deliver, clarity creates power. Even though you can't bank on, you're not going to have clarity all the time, but they're lucky that I'm that type of entrepreneur, that I'm out there actually giving them real content and actually helping them get clear. So when they walk out of there, they don't need me anymore. And they do it. I mean, they don't need me for that section. But what happens on day one is people start saying, how do we hire her? How do we hire you? And it happens every single time. And they say, tomorrow, she'll give you an opportunity. If you want to go listen to an offer, you can do that. I even tell them, I will full-blown pitch you at this point. If you walk into this room, I'm going to pitch you, right? Because my job is to get you through every consideration you have in your head. Like, I don't have enough money. Is this right for me? Like, I'm going to work through all of that. So on the second day, they go into another room, they choose in, and I make a full offer. I have a flip chart. I write down the investment, all the details, how I deliver it, and then they choose in. And then that's it. There's no repitch. There's no anything. I go back into the room. And it's crazy how I have to work so hard to even get the room back up in energy after I went and made an offer, because I think people are so expecting us to let them down. They're expecting us.
They're walking in thinking that.
They're expecting us to like just not deliver. You know what I mean? Because of what's happening in the marketplace. And I think we have to get better. Yeah. So I pride myself on being the best.
So that's fascinating. And I want to just help us relate it back to somebody who's listening and he's going, Shanda, you're awesome. You have 300 people in the room and you got 700 people, 300 people actually showed up, 700,000. That's way out of my reality. And that is for most of the entrepreneurs, especially in the coaching world where it's so new as an industry too. So let's relate it back to somebody real. I know we kind of talked offline and you said, let me give you an example of somebody who's gone through one of our programs and has got some measurable results, but way something that may be in realm of reality. Would you want to
So first of all, the reason why I gave those numbers is because as an entrepreneur, when you're listening to, shows like this, you got to know, like, is this an investment that's worth me playing in? And that's why I gave real numbers, because it's so hard to tell. Like, there's so much advice out there, but a lot of people don't back it up with real numbers on what it actually looks like. And so that's why I gave those numbers. But okay, so one of my clients, Karina, she just moved to Puerto Rico. Nobody knows her. Like, she's a complete no name. She did her first 2-day event. She just bombed the offer, and but what she did was, because I've already taught her phone sales, she was able to go back and serve these people and have strategy conversations. So it's like, don't think that you're always going to hit it out of the park the first round. This is her third one. So her second one, she made good money, but it still wasn't where she wanted it to be. Now this one, she did pretty well. So it's her third one in, I think, 4 months. Okay.
So one a month kind of,
Exactly. And now she's going to Australia to do one. And
that's
so,
awesome.
and our company's HeartCore, and so it's about being heart-centered.
Yeah.
I just gave her an extra $10,000 to make sure that she could do her event and do it well, and I wanted to put more people in the room. So my clients are investing $40,000, right? Like, so they might invest $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 to do this deal. So,
Yeah.
okay, so on a smaller scale, she just did a 2-day event. Here's my numbers. Overall, 53 attendees. 28.8% showed up that confirmed. 40% of the VIPs confirmed out of 53, so 75 showed up. So basically what that means is that when we call to confirm, we will ask them, do you want to upgrade to the VIP breakfast? In the VIP breakfast, you teach so I teach cash injection strategies. So it's can't fit into the workshop. So if you want to come early and you want to pay for that, they basically pay $27 and they pay for their breakfast.
Yeah.
Really is what it is. And then
Yeah.
I'll teach them. Now, I did try that where they paid $149. I actually kind of like the $149 better, to be honest. But I've been testing the $27 and that's what she just did. So that's like a stick strategy. They paid something, so they're going to show up. So out of the people who paid for she had 40% she had 75% of the people who bought the VIP breakfast show up. So you see how that brought it up significantly?
Yeah.
On day one, she had 46 attendees show up on day one. Not everybody shows up on day 1 and 2.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
free event,
Yeah.
right? So 46 showed up on day 1. And so some of those won't show up on day 2 because this is how this world works. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
wants to be successful. It's like,
They don't want to invest
Shit,
even the
like
time, even if it's a free
Yeah, it's like-
event. Like,
it's
come
like-
on, it's just time. And it's a weekend, right?
I know, like you invested in nothing. It's a Friday and a Saturday.
Yeah.
And
So Saturday should be easier to get to
Exactly.
the event. Yeah.
So 46 show up on day 1, 49 show up on day 2. On the offer, she did it on day 2 at the lunch break. So she gives a 2-hour lunch and then she does it. 37 out of the 49 went in.
Say that again?
37 out of the 49 went into
That's
the
like
offer room.
70. Oh, went to the offer room.
Yeah, but that's pretty
Okay.
good. 46.
Yeah,
out
no, it's really good.
49 people,
Yeah.
37.
Yeah. That's like
So,
60, 70%.
okay, so the
70%? I don't
reason
know
why
my
that
math's not so good, yeah.
happens is because my clients are coached to teach real content. They're not coached to do some funnel that hooks them and gives them a portion of the information. Our community is taught to give it all. They're taught like there's no way you can give too much. Like that is
Yeah.
like if somebody's like, I give at a detriment. I'm no. If I go back and find out why you gave, there was something in it for you. So they just give, right? So that's how we teach them. So her content was good. So if your content's good,
People are going to want to know more.
that's right.
They wanna work.
I mean, that's really the game. That's a smarter play than to figure out how to be the most extraordinary marketer. Yeah. Just be good at your content.
Yeah.
So 36 stayed for the offer out of the 37. So one person must have left.
Yeah.
Okay. 11 signed up. So she made $138,000. She had a 30% conversion cold traffic.
That's awesome.
Give me a pro that gets
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's true.
It's
true, yeah.
extraordinary.
Yeah.
And this is not abnormal. We also got an enrollment outside of the event that
And I'm sure she did calls after.
That says
and,
my team closed, making today a total of $153,000 a day. God is good.
Yeah.
And I've got tons of those.
Yeah.
With total no-name people. She doesn't have a huge email list. She probably has about 3,500 people on her email list. She's just been in coaching for the last 2 years. It's not like...
Yeah, they're not like super seasoned or anything like that. And this is somebody coming through. This is, again, free coming from Facebook ads. Yeah?
Hers, yes. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So typically I don't teach people to move to Facebook ads until they have an email list and have figured out how to convert that. So
Yeah.
get out of survival, because
Yeah.
Facebook ads, if you're not, I mean, I don't know if you guys teach this, hopefully you don't, but it's what I believe. It's like, if you don't have a business or you're scared about how to generate money, you don't know how to generate, then I think it's absolutely the dumbest thing you could ever do is to go take a Facebook marketing course, unless you want to be an agency.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree
like,
with you.
It's
We
just,
don't teach that.
yeah,
not
it's
at all.
just like,
No.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
We almost go with the approach of saying when you're starting, be as agile and go one-to-one.
Yeah,
like
we
we
said the
don't even
exact
go.
same thing.
Yeah, so
How do
so
you
we
even
kind
know
of
your
like super
messaging?
aligned.
Like, you
Yeah,
don't even know.
You don't know if you're any good at what you're doing. Like, do like this, like be this.
We teach the same
as
thing.
much. Yeah, you learn so much. That's how I built
Congratulations
my
for
own, yeah.
teaching real business,
Yeah.
because everybody in the marketplace that's teaching all of these additional things, if you go back where they started, it was one-on-one.
Yeah.
But it is our responsibility to be smart and pay attention to what's going inside of our mind, and realize, like, if you haven't figured out your messaging, you haven't worked with enough people.
Yeah.
It's not about hiring a copywriter to figure out your message at that point. The copywriter is going to go off of what you tell them.
Yeah.
And so you have to work with enough people one-on-one, 20, 30 people. Like, get some people underneath you that you can work one-on-one with and figure out. You'll start to figure out your messaging. You might need a copywriter to come in and tweak it and make it amazing.
Yeah.
Or a good business coach to help you make it amazing, your positioning. But it's like, yeah, people just do things backwards.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's just the information that is disseminated, like, oh, how I made $1 million in 7 days, or whatever stupidity that people
Ask
talk
more
about. It's
questions,
like,
what did you do in your first
before.
1 to 60 or 60 to 100K, or what? Like, what were those steps? Because that's the step you're in.
Yeah, and I feel like it also helps you really figure out what you want to do when you do one-on-one. You know, like, not just the messaging part, but do you even want to build programs? Like, yes, it sounds really cool and fancy and feels like less work, which it is not. But let's say you think that's the thing, but when you do it, you go, do I even want to ever move away from one-on-one? Because some people just love this shit.
They do, and you could just charge more and do a premium, and you could even do mini groups. We're teaching a lot of retreats right now. Yeah. It's fun. I guess it depends on people's audiences, but like, our community is so good at, they're such givers. And if they're generous, they become uber givers when they get into our community, because we teach them how to develop that Martin Luther King skill set, right, in leadership. But it's like, they're so good. Like, even if they've never led a mastermind or retreat, they're still so good with people because they love people.
Yeah.
And so we have been teaching a lot of retreats lately. It's like, imagine if you just sold a retreat for, like, say you wanted 20 people in a retreat. Well, you really only have to enroll 10 and tell the other 10 you've got space in the room to bring a friend. They've already paid. So it's like, it's like, I'm doing the event anyway. These are the exact words we use. I'm doing the event anyway. And so I've got 10 spots available. Like, I could fit 10 more people in this boardroom, this Airbnb, whatever it is that you rented to do this small little workshop retreat. And you can bring somebody. Who do you want to bring? So we don't ask them. Who do you want to bring? And what they do is they already get the value because they invested $700, $1,500, $5,000. Most of my clients charge $5,000 for their 2 or 3 day, little workshop. And then they bring people, their friends bring people, or their new clients, their retreat attendees bring people. Now you have a full room of 20 people. And it's like, there's always a next offer. So work with your mentor, work with your coach, and help figure out from this workshop, what would be that next offer? It's easy one-on-one. I mean, that's always, that's just you're never going to mess up on that.
Yeah.
If you just didn't know what to offer, you could offer one-on-one, or offer a VIP day, or offer something like that off the back end of it. And now you've just massively grown your investment and your return on investment.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for that advice. It feels like it's so synchronous to what we've been talking about as well, to our tribe. And I'm so glad that we could sit down and we could find that agreement, because it's just so much bad business advice that goes out, especially it's like so weird. It's like our community is specially designed to give just bad, like, just simple business advice. It's not rocket science we're talking about. It's simple business advice that you could read off a book. But you still end up into this podcast. Or listen to this conversation and you'll be like, okay, no, this makes perfect sense. So thank you for sharing that. I want to move a little bit towards something that, before we close out the conversation, into similar topic, but kind of make it really, it's so real what you're talking about right now. But I know the bigger challenge for entrepreneurs at all different stages is to deal with fears of making progress and going from one stage to another, and being in a place of service it's like you want to do this service thing, and that fear of survival, fear of growth, fear of not thinking that you're doing enough, fear of so many different fears that just attack us all the time, because we're kind of going as much as with joy and excitement and challenge in a stage of business a lot of times because of survival.
Yeah.
How do you tackle that? Or what is your recommendation or some of your questions or something that you address?
So, well, somebody asked me the other day, they said, how do you stay passionate about what you're doing? Or like when I'm working with my clients, they seem to not have any urgency. Like I have to figure out how to create an urgency bonus to have people buy. I'm like, no, you actually have to become urgent. I'm like, so it's like everybody's trying to like, to hack the system with the formula, but it's like, stop. Like the way you operate is what causes the forward momentum or not. So the way I stay urgent is I listen to podcasts like this, right? Like Ed Millett or whatever. I just listen to, I move. Like it's like, I'm like hooked on Ed right now. I'm really liking his stuff. So it's like, I read his little pamphlet, Max Out. I pull one thing from it. Like, it's like, I'm just talking about urgency for a second, but it's like, I guess at the end of the day, we have like 7 years of productive time from the time that we get into work, with putting on our clothes, driving to places, answering emails. Like, so we've got about 7 years together as productivity time. Do you want to use it sitting on the couch, watching Netflix? So these little things get in my head when I listen to progressive podcasts, read progressive books, that just, they embed in me. So if I feel like I'm feeling a little bit like I'm dragging. I mean, I'm human, like it's like not feel like I've been bored in my business, or it's like, okay, I'm bored, like, but I don't give up on my business or create another product and like start to get distracted with that. I'm like, if I would have done that, I wouldn't have the empire I have today and growing. We're just getting started, and it's like, so it's like, what do I do in that moment? Well, I would go find something that was about like enthusiasm or about like, I would find a podcast. Now it's so easy to go for a walk and listen to a podcast. I would find something that fired me up again. Like maybe it's like connecting my business to making a difference. And I would just try until something clicked. And I get obsessed about it. So it's like, if I'm fearful about something, like in business now, like I just listened to Blitz Scaling. And it just fired me up because I realized, some of the stuff I'm dealing with this blitz scaling is normal. I shouldn't freak out about this breaking or this breaking. Like it's actually supposed to happen.
Part of it.
And then I go back and I pay it forward and teach it like on our coffees with Shanda or whatever to our clients. And then I tell them to and I like grow together. So it's like, if you're dealing with fear, you're consumed with yourself. And you're not going anywhere quick. If you're depressed, you're consumed, right? So, and I get the very real moment. If you're broke and you're consumed about whenever I've realized that generosity is the key to getting out of any problem. You can't do a video because you don't know what to say. It's all about you. You want to start a podcast, but you're like, what would I call the podcast? Just fucking start the podcast. Like, just, where do you think we create these things? We get an idea that we're in the context of a bubble and we go out and we just start to create it and then it becomes something or it doesn't. But we're not attached to it. And so it's like, when it's all about us, then we got to process it. I hate processing things. Like, I get that there's a power to that, but like, that's what therapy's for. Therapy's not to coach you forward. Coaching is to coach you forward. So I'm a coach by nature because I like forward momentum. You get what I'm saying? So,
absolutely.
So it's like, whatever your problem is, go find a podcast to solve it because it's just something happening in your mind. And if you want to unhook from it, get generous. Focus out. You don't know what to say in that video, then stop looking at you. What do they want? I don't know what they want. Okay, well, if they wanted something, what do you think? What is something somebody asked you? I mean, I did a video in your hallway right before I jumped in here because somebody I heard had a really bad list build. And they're like, I was really depending on that list to hit so that I could provide for my family. And their farm isn't doing well this year, and they're in a real spot. And she sees responsibility on what she did. But I'm thinking to myself, my Bring a Friend contest is starting. The first prize is $4,000. All you have to do is bring the most amount of people in this week, and you just made $4,000. Like, and so I cut a video about that. But instead of just sending it to that person, I help the entire community by sharing that resource and saying, if that's you at some level, look what's in front of you. And it's like, you don't have to stay there.
Yeah.
There's always a way. And I'm not just being a positive person. Yeah. I've just learned resourcefulness. So it's like, but it's generosity that unhooks it, you know, so just focus out.
Yeah. I love that. I love how you said it's kind of like feed your mind and be generous. Feed your mind and be generous.
Totally.
Create that movement in life. Create that movement
That's
in
been
energy.
my formula.
And you will not feel stuck. You will not feel fearful because there is movement that's happening. And so you're focused on the movement a lot more than your own bullshit.
Yeah, because you can't be fearful and be in progress at the same time. Like, it's like something clicks, you forget that you were fearful.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that bit just right there. And I think that makes a perfect, beautiful way for us to leave the people who are watching this or listening this in different platforms to just go in and go, okay, maybe you need to listen to the next one and the next one and the next one and go follow the right people. Like, clean your Instagram feed and stop looking at bullshit.
Yeah.
Or whatever that is. Just feed your mind and create positive progress by being generous and just saying, hey, how can I serve more? How can I serve more? Don't hold back. And there's so many golden nuggets in this that I think I'll have to have my team just go and okay, let's bullet this. And we've been at this for an hour and a half at this point. We've been talking. But I absolutely loved that you took the time and came down to sit with me and have this wonderful conversation with me. We're going to post all the links for everybody that's listening and watching on the description to be able to find more about you, find more about your local events. We'll probably get that information from you so they can come see you live or your team live, however that is that they are able to make it possible, and come to your event that you're doing.
The Zone event.
You said in October, September?
No, we're doing the Zone event September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Palm Springs.
So September 22nd, 23rd, 24th in Palm Springs. That's where Shanda's next event is happening. We'll definitely make sure that people are informed about that. We'll post a link to that as well. And generally, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing all your different mindsets and strategies and tactics, but also what really matters, which is just being able to share that and generosity that you showed today. Thank you very much.
It's awesome to be here with you.
Thanks.